Have you had these before?
I have.
Do you like them?
I saw that TikTok thing that said that they're bad for you. And
Are they bad for you?
apparently,
Oh,
you know,
shit.
everything's
And he'd
bad.
be drinking them because they're healthy.
Oh no, apparently they're really bad, but I don't know. Everything you see on TikTok is bad.
I feel like every
Yeah.
drink now is bad too.
Have you tried the Prime ones?
No.
Dude.
They're
oh
too
my-
sweet, aren't they? Wait,
they're not-
energy drinks?
Yeah, the energy drinks, yeah.
Oh.
So like, I don't know. It's just like, imagine like, if you tried Prime,
Yeah.
just maybe a little more like mellow version.
I don't
but
like
with like
their
Sprite.
their
Like, I don't
drinks.
know. It's good.
They're really good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When I'll go to Winco and I'll buy like a case of like assortments because they're so good. But
I
don't
used
know.
to drink a lot of Rain,
Okay. Yeah.
and then they started getting me bloated,
Oh.
and then I was like, yeah, I can't drink these.
Dude, that would
anymore.
happen to me with I just spaced the name. That
Ghost
no, it kind of looks like Ghost. It's
C4 booked up.
No, you're almost there. I don't remember the.
Uptime,
No, it's big. It's like Blue Raz. They're always on TikTok too.
Blue Raz,
They have Blue Raz like birthday cake. Dude, I don't know why I'm
Alani.
spacing. Bang.
Oh, Bang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would happen to me with Bang. That started to like bloat me.
Yeah, dude, it's not a good feeling. It sucks.
Yeah. But
Yeah, I went from Rain to, and then I was drinking Red Bull for a little bit, like a
okay.
lot of Red Bull, and then I switched to Alani, and then Celsius. That was a C4. Anyways, I've tried every single one. I'm an addict for caffeine. All right?
Nos, bro. Nos is where it's at. I
No,
love
dude.
Nos.
I stay away from those.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, those are like the ones that will blow my heart up.
Dude, I used to do like gas station food's terrible. Like in the mornings.
It's
you
so
just
good,
stop by
though.
the gas
So good,
station,
dude.
bro. Yes. I don't
The
know.
mini corn dogs, bro. Have you had those?
The little
I'll go to like a
taquitos?
Maverick. Oh no, that just sounds like heartburn, dude.
Dude.
No.
It's delicious.
The breakfast bowls in the morning at Maverick.
Oh, really? They
And
smack.
Let's go.
So we're
He's
making
like, fuck the
everyone hungry.
podcast.
Dude, I don't know why I just got hungry, but
Yeah, no, I feel you, dude. I've been on this. I've been I'm back on my diet, and
is he cranky?
He's been doing
getting
all
there.
right.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I've been trying to. I had a fat breakfast this morning, dude. Like fat. Like I had a protein shake with 3 eggs, 2 tortillas, and yeah, it was amazing.
Jeez, bro.
Yeah, dude, I've been trying to get it back on my freaking diet. Anyway, it's hard, but bro, welcome. I hadn't introduced you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. First of all,
Thank you for
coming.
having me. Yeah.
But yeah, you are John,
Yep.
the famous John.
On TikTok. Yeah. We need to talk about that.
Yeah. But yeah, bro, if you want to present yourself real quick and just kind of what you do and
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm a full-time videographer, literally for work and then off work. So that's literally my 24/7, I guess, besides the time I sleep. But only do videography. And that's basically it. That's my life, literally my passion in my life. And I've been doing it for a few years now, especially full-time.
how long have you been doing it since, not full time, but since you started?
Dude, I guess I'll talk about why I started videography because it's especially where we're at right now.
But first, let me tell you this freaking story that I've been wanting. So
Okay, lay it on me, because I messed up, bro. I know. Lay it on me. Go for it.
No, you didn't mess up. And at the end of the day, you know what? It's all good because now I think about it, I'm like, yeah, I just wouldn't have the time to go either way. So, I see your
I get my business page.
your business. There you go. Your business page pop up on my suggested to follow, and I look at it. I'm like, well, that's sick, you know. And so then I DM you. I don't remember what exactly the question I had for you was, but I think it was something involving like how to work a camera or something like that, or like what type of camera should I use for this podcast.
I'll let you know what you told me because I actually was talking to my wife last night. I'm like, we messed up because so the page, I'm not on active, which is terrible because I do like I guess social media for the company I work for. But I remember you contact me like where you could book, and what I understood is like I told my wife, I'm like, I think he thinks that we're booking because in my bio it says like now booking for this year,
Right.
upcoming year. I'm like, I think he's trying to book something. And I can't remember exactly what I told you. I'm like I could teach you or something like that. And
Yeah, you're like, because on your profile it said looking for like intern basically.
Yeah,
Like
I
that.
had like Southeast videographers now booking.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? I know I could have I messed up on that one. I think now that I'm like someone else messaged me about that, I was like, I should probably change that.
Yeah, so I was like looking for someone to help me out how to work a camera because I don't know how to work a camera. Like I have no clue about cameras at all. And so all I wanted to know was like, hey bro, can I learn how to work a camera so that my podcast looks good, with what I got? Anyways, we started DMing and then you're like, yeah, bro, you can come help out at some of the events that we have going on this year. And then I don't know if I replied back or not.
Dude,
I think I don't
you
think I
asked
did.
me, I forgot what I said, but I remember the last message because I definitely ghosted you. My bad. I said like, how would that work? But since I'm like, I don't know, there's no
yeah,
excuse. There's no excuse, but like I did
yeah,
mess up, and I told my wife, I'm like, I feel I should have messaged him back even though it was so late. But we were already talking at that point. I was like, I'll tell him on that day. I'm like, he's going to bring it up, so I'll talk to him. But
yeah. I was like, how would that work?
dude, you lose messages too, because
You
like
do.
even though we don't have a lot of followers, and when we do tags and stuff, the tags get sent to them, and then they just gets lost. And then, like I said, it's the inactivity on it too,
Right.
which is terrible. My bad, but the offer's still up. I'm still like,
No, it's all good, bro.
Oh no, he doesn't want my help.
No, I love your help.
No, but I told her too. I'm like it's so hard to teach someone right now.
Yes.
Because I'm already doing it with like my brother. Like I don't know if you saw, like I saw you at an event a few weeks back.
Yeah.
And
no, but I've been seeing your stories, and I've seen him how you're like teaching him and taking him out with you and whatnot.
He started with us last year, just moving lights, carrying stuff, and then he wanted to get more involved. And it's kind of hard to teach someone that doesn't have any like drive, because it's not like wasting your time, but it's also like you're so busy and you can't allocate more time to something that like probably like if he just I taught him all last year and he didn't want to do anything this year, then I'm like back to square one. Now I have to find someone else to not replace him, but like help me out. And so, and then you messaged me now, like it was in the middle of like the whole, I'm like, like, I mean, I guess you can tag along when we're, but yeah, it's just been so crazy these past few years, man. Like,
yeah, no, I bet. Yeah, no, that's how I kind of came across you, and I was like, I didn't get like hurt or offended or anything. I didn't think bad of the message at all. Like, in my point of view, I was just like, oh, he's probably like busy, and that's how I took it. And I don't get, it's happened before with like people that I've reached out to, where they're busy and they don't respond back to me. But that's not. For those reasons, I'm not like, oh, screw you.
That's what I told my wife last night. I'm like, I don't think he took offense to me, because he still said hi to us when we met him in person, and then he still messaged me. So I'm like, I think we're good. And dude, I was so hesitant on like, because I know you messaged. Did you message me on my personal? And you're like, hey, would you be on? I'm like,
no.
Dude.
So the podcast came about this way, dude. You had a question. I followed you, right? And then you had a question. Like ask me a question type of deal on your story.
Okay, yes.
And I'm like, would you ever be on a podcast?
And so that's the funny thing.
Listen, I did the most for this guy.
I appreciate it, dude. I appreciate it. And I told I'm like, I was talking to my wife because like she's always next to me. And that's why I said it's kind of weird, because I was gonna pick her up. But I'm
like, man, I wish she was here. Shout out to you.
Yeah, her name's Geraldine. We call her Jerry though, so.
Jay?
Yeah, Jerry.
Shout out Jay.
It was yeah. But I was like, dude, I don't really have anything interesting like to talk about. That's why I was like, I mean, we can talk about cameras. That's my passion, man. Like when gear is what gets me going. Like that's
like you're all shit.
I think you understand like the editing is dreadful. Not necessarily like in a bad way, but it can get tiring.
It's consuming. It's taxing on your energy. And people are like, oh, but editing's not that hard. Okay, it may not be that hard. That's fine. You can have a lot of experience in editing. Cool, right? But the fact that you're sitting there, you're staring at the screen for an hour at least, hour and a half, and you are checking every little thing that you are knowledgeable on editing to make sure it turns out good. That's taxing on you, really. Yeah.
And it's two things, because I imagine that you at least once watched the whole podcast again, or try to, because you have to kind of. You have to. And then plus whatever other time, I'll kind of backtrack to I was at year one, like at the beginning, like my shoes where editing was the hardest thing ever. And I didn't like, I'll be honest, I didn't really know anything about videography until I started my job that I'm in now a few years ago. And I remember you talked about in what podcast about like, it wasn't more like, I guess you like an ego I had that I knew everything I thought I knew at one point before I started my job. And then I really got humbled when I started my real job with real people that knew. So Edgar, I used to work with Edgar.
Shout out to you, Edgar.
And Jesus, my manager, which was our manager at the time, I guess Edgar doesn't work there anymore. But when I started, Edgar was at a whole different level and my manager was a whole different level. And I was just, I basically could say I didn't know anything. And so that really humbled me. But back then when I first started trying to learn, like I didn't have anybody either to ask.
Yeah.
And go ahead. It's hard because I know you hopped on a live with Rod and some other guy. You're kind of talking about the struggle of like matching audio to the clip.
Oh yeah, you did. You mentioned that you could do that. There's an auto sync,
on Premiere. But it's like we go back to the same thing again. Like if you don't have someone there telling you like, well, I don't have Premiere, so what do I use? You know what I mean?
Right. And I don't have Premiere. You know what I use?
Guess or no? You use DaVinci?
Yeah.
Dude, that's like the hardest one.
No, bro, I use DaVinci and I got, I mean, I'm not going to get into it.
It's hard, dude. It's hard because it's like starting over. Well, for me, it's hard now because you have to learn the whole program and you're used to an old program. Like, not old program, completely different program. Yeah. But yeah, like when it kind of like, that's why we were speaking last night with my wife. I'm like, I understand where he might need help because I had those questions back then. Exactly. Yeah. And I didn't have any help. So it took me way longer to learn the basics because anybody could learn how to cut and put together a video, just simple cuts and everything. But like when you said, like the audio, like I'm guessing you had like a learning curve.
Learning curve for sure. Like we'll get into your story, but just to kind of end this part of the conversation. When we started, like I did not know anything about audio or anything like that. But I guess advice to anyone who's out there who's trying to start something, if you have no knowledge about it, learn about it. So the way I did it was, I have a mindset and a bad habit to think that the shiniest things are the best things that will make the best results, right? Which is not true.
Yeah, that is
And I learned that very quickly because of my budget. And I was like, I don't have the money to spend on a $5,000 camera, on these lights, and this whatever, right? So what I looked at was, okay, who can I look at that has a good podcast that I can kind of recreate here with what I'm trying to do? And so I looked actually at the Mexican podcast. Okay. And they were using these mics. Back because most podcasts here in the U.S. use the SMB 70, I think it's called, the Shure mic. Okay. Which is like a $300 mic.
Yeah, they get pricing.
I mean, it's a ton of. That's like the mic that Joe Rogan uses, for example. Yeah. And so I was like, okay. So then I look at cable. Anyways, it took me about from September to November, right, babe, to kind of learn just about the equipment alone. Yeah. And then from November till January is what I learned how to use the audio interface and the programs, right? Yeah. So for my audio, I use GarageBand. Okay. Yeah. And I record on GarageBand, right? And I do 3 edits on there. I record the raw edit, right? Which we're recording right now. Then I go in there, I check everything. I mix the levels with the voices, right, to make them sound a little bit less amplified, more amplified, whatever that is. So then that's my final, and then I go back in and do my extract into an MP3. Yep. Yeah. And then from the MP3, then I go into DaVinci, and then I do my.
We're talking rocket science right now, so everybody that understands this. I'm like walking in my head. It's funny because that is so many steps. Yeah. But it's so good that you're doing it because you're learning, I guess, the harder way.
Yeah, and you know what? You learn. It's crazy because when you're in this field of like being a creator, a content creator, any little thing that you learn how to do, you're like, holy shit.
Yes, it happens to me to
Yeah,
this day
you're like,
too.
fuck,
Yeah.
dude, I was able to do that. No way I pulled that shit off.
Or I don't know if it happens to you. On Instagram, you're scrolling and then you'll find those tutorials.
Yeah.
I get a lot from Premiere, and I'm like, dude, that would have saved my life a month ago. Like, and then I'm so excited, and then you'll get another one, and they just randomly pop up on my phone.
Yeah.
So like, that's the best feeling, learning a new little trick, even though it might not be a big deal, but sometimes it is.
Right. Yeah. But you only know that when you're starting literally from the ground up. And you're working your way up, like you're working your way into editing. I did not know and then funny thing about DaVinci, when you go on YouTube to try to look, there's a ton of tutorial for Premiere, a ton. I mean, endless amounts of content to learn how to do that. But on DaVinci, it's very limited.
Yeah, dude,
It's
that's
only
what
a
I'm
few
like.
people.
Props to you, dude, that for diving into DaVinci.
I only went with because it's free. That's why.
No, but I mean, it's hard.
But it's
hard. Like, I think, honestly, like just hearing that, I think my goal this year might be just to learn DaVinci.
Yeah.
Because I started in Final Cut for Macs.
Oh, okay.
So I started iMovie, you know, that's free on Apple, but
Right.
you have to have an Apple, so you have to have a big investment right off the bat.
Yeah.
Then you still have to pay $400 more to buy Final Cut Pro.
Right.
So I was already getting the hang of Final Cut Pro, and then at work, I didn't have a Mac. I had a Windows.
Yeah.
And so now I had to learn Adobe, and when I started learning Adobe, I was so like mind-wise, I was like, no, this sucks. This is so hard. I don't want to do this. But then I was forced to. And so it was more of a quicker process because I kind of understood Final Cut. Mm-hmm. And then Adobe is a lot better than Final Cut because there's a lot more things you can do in Adobe, but it's a lot more intimidating from going from Final Cut, which is so user-friendly like Apple is, to Adobe. And right now I'm the same boat. I don't want to jump to DaVinci because a lot of people are learning it, but dude, it's so intimidating.
No, in high school, I took a class on how to use Adobe, and I was like, okay, if I get Adobe, like I can do that. But then I was like, damn, like I already spent a good amount of money on everything I have right now, and you either pay, I think it's $20 a month, or you pay $200 a year for the Adobe program. Yep. And I was like, man, I don't know if I was like, if I'm gonna pay that, I want to make sure the podcast is going somewhere first. Yeah. You know, like, because to me that's an investment, right? Because I think Adobe is top tier as far as editing programs, aside from DaVinci. You know, I think DaVinci still has a few years to catch up. So I was like, once the podcast gets going and I see some type of result back, then I'll consider making the investment. Yeah. But now my big goal now is getting a new computer because. Although this one is great and has worked great and will keep working for a good amount of time. Yeah. Those programs, as you know, take a lot of the computer. Yeah. They take a ton out of. They tax that computer like none other.
Yeah, you have to have a decent computer for that. I definitely understand your pain because I'm on the same. Yeah.
So that's like my first goal is like getting the computer first. Whether it's in the next year or a year and a half, and then we can look at the investing of the Adobe. But crazy, dude. Anyways, how'd you get started in videography and all that stuff? What's your why? Tell me that.
My why. So one day I was just on Instagram and just never touched a camera in my life. I didn't even own a camera. But on Instagram, in my day, I guess you could say that I didn't start until like after I graduated high school, so maybe 2017. Okay. Instagram was all about pictures. Everybody just posted a picture of it. And I'm like, you know how cool it'd be to post a video of my life instead of a picture? Yeah. And so that's when it clicked. But then I'm like, my second problem is I don't have a camera. Like, obviously I had my phone, but back then I remember it was like the iPhone 6. Yeah. So it's like recording on a rock. And so I had purchased a GoPro. Like, it was a session, so it was $100 and some GoPro in a little cube. And I remember I just started recording. Like, my passion is videography, but my real passion is car videography. Like that, someone would be like, hey, bro, do you want to shoot my car? And I think it's cool. Like, that's one thing I'll say yes to any day for free because I love that. But I recorded the Subaru, I remember, and a little GoPro, and I thought I was like the shit, just recording it with no gimbal and just crazy. And the video's still on my my Instagram.
Oh, I think I saw it because I've been following you for a good minute.
Yeah. So I kept it on there because as time went, I was like, I'm gonna keep that there so I can one day still go back and see like, dude, you sucked. But at the moment, let me tell you, I was on cloud nine, man.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
I thought it was the coolest thing. And then I was working at a warehouse that summer because I was going back to school for college, and it was like 1 a.m. I was working graveyard shift, and my buddy Christian Labra, I'm gonna shout you out, man, because you changed my life just because of that. He messaged me at 1 a.m. and he's like, hey, bro, do you want to fill my car? And he had this Slam Civic, and I'm a sucker for Civics, man. Like I'm any Honda, I love. And I was like, yeah, dude. Like I thought it was the greatest moment of my life. I'm like, this guy with the Ferrari just hit me up right now, and I'm like, yeah. But I didn't have a camera, so I remember one of my buddies' wife at the time let me borrow her Canon T6i. So it was just let me borrow. Like people don't let you borrow cameras, and she let me borrow her camera. And I remember I filmed that car, and again, cloud nine, like I was getting a rush, and then I started getting maybe another Civic here, and then at a certain point I was like, I can't keep borrowing this girl's camera, like that's messed up, like, and so I didn't have the money available at the time because I'm going back to college, and I remember I told my mom like, hey, this is what I want to do, and she's like, well, if you really want to, I'll let you borrow my Sam's credit card and you can go buy the
dude, that's the best feeling ever.
The camera, and I remember it was like
God.
$800, and I was like, oh, it's $800. I mean, it wasn't a big deal at the time, but I'm like, I have to pay for school, and then I have to last all school year, because I only worked summer, and then I'd go to college, and then. Dude, from there it was like I bought a lens after that, and then I started getting a little more familiar with iMovie, so I switched to Final Cut, and then from there I just got a little. In my eyes, I got better, but realistically, I was doing terrible because I didn't have anything to like be like, okay, I didn't have a standard, I guess. I thought whatever I was putting out was great. Now I go back in time, I'm like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
But the problem was that having is money, like you've mentioned before, camera equipment is so expensive.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of kicked me to do events. Like I do event here and there. It was terrible because I didn't have like the computer to even process an event. And I didn't even know what my time frames were looking at. And so it was being more of a mess than it was even worth it. And I was making only a couple $100. And then dealing with like moms and quinceañeras. And it was just a whole nightmare. So I literally quit. I did a couple of them, and I just stopped doing them because it wasn't worth it. I went back to school.
What were you going to school for?
Accounting. So I was doing an associate's degree. So semester 3 rolls around, and I finish it, and I had already picked up a job at a business management firm. So basically, what I was going in for. I dropped out of school because at the time it was a joke for me. I'm like, dude, I'm learning so much in the few months I've been at this firm. Then what I'm learning. And so I worked there about, I believe, 2 years. So I was doing taxes, I was doing accounting, bookkeeping. I guess like I had like a few companies that would kind of do everything for.
What made you go into accounting?
I've always loved, I guess it might sound a little weird, but I always loved making money. So I've always been, since I was a kid,
like a hustler,
buying and selling cars with my dad. Like,
oh shit.
He was working most of the time, and so he'd buy a car, and I'd have to put it on Facebook and sell it. I remember Facebook wasn't as big, but Craigslist was huge back then.
Oh, dude, the best.
Dude,
hey,
I'm a
you know what I bought
sucker,
once
man.
in Craigslist? A freaking Guitar Hero fucking guitar.
On the Wii or the...
Yeah, the Xbox.
Oh, man, yeah.
Dude, freaking...
Dude,
oh,
Craigslist was the thing back then, and I still check it from
no one got kidnapped back then, dude.
Oh, yeah. I was always buying and selling things as a young age. I was in middle school helping my dad, and we've always done that, like, since I can remember. Time passes by, always selling, buying. Like, I personally probably had more cars than most people have in their lifetime. Yeah. But buying and selling all the time. Once I got a little bit older, I got a little bit more money, and I started, I guess, just buying and selling cars on Facebook Marketplace. And it's been more like a hobby. Yeah. Because it's a rush. Like, selling stuff for me has always been like a rush. And I think at the business firm, it was kind of the same thing because we were commission-wise. So during tax season was my prime because you're selling, you're getting paid off of the amount you're collecting on each person. So it was a blast.
Who kind of taught you that hustler mentality of selling and buying, commission, where that comes from.
I think I'm gonna tell you who, and I'll tell you. I guess I'll give some advice out for younger people that
Is that AC on, by the way? Did you turn it on? Yeah.
Toasting already.
Yeah, it's freaking hot out here.
Yeah, and
but anyways, yeah, go ahead.
When I was younger, I dreaded helping my dad buy and sell cars because I'm like, why me? Like, why do I have to help him? Like, his English wasn't the best at the time, so I understood like I had to help him, but I wasn't making money when I was younger. He'd give me like maybe like $10-$20 to help him out, and like for me it was a lot of money because like I was young, but he always had a thing to have a project every summer, and I hated it. He either bought we would either flip trailers like mobile homes, so he'd buy. We used to live in a mobile home like growing up, and so in the parking, I guess I don't even know what they're called anymore, like a mobile home place. Sometimes they get repoed, but they would be destroyed. So my dad was friends with the landlord, and he'd buy them off of them, and we'd flip them. And I hated it, man, because I never had time to be a kid. I guess like I was always helping him carrying the dang compressor over, or helping him carry stuff, and you wanted to build a shed this summer, and we had a wooden fireplace, I remember. And every fall, dude, I had to cut firewood after school, and I hated it. Like I absolutely wished that my business back then mentality was like, I wish I had enough money to buy one of those automatic wood splitters. Yeah. And I'm gonna go over to a lot of these houses and try to split wood for money, and like I hated it. Yeah. But a few years passed by, and I realized that early on that all that I hate that helped me, because sales, you need to know how to learn to talk to people. You can't be scared to talk to people. You need to learn how to get your way out of like some sticky situations when you don't know the answer. And so like I never thought like I've heard people be like, oh, if I lose my job, I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. Right. For me, it's like, okay, on to the next, man. Like we and I've
always, what they're called? Those people that you're mentioning who, like you said, on to the next. I had mentors a few years ago, and what they would call them and call themselves, right, would be solution seekers, right? So they're like, never get stuck. They always have some type of way or find a way out, and I think that, those lessons are important, especially at a young age. I don't know how young you were, but a little bit about me. I remember I started working with my dad in painting when I was 10, right? And I would just go help him out a few hours here and there. He wouldn't pay me anything. Yeah. But I would see him work, right? And I would work, and I fucking hated it. Anyways, right. Yeah. At 12, I started working with him, a couple hours in the afternoon, maybe, some days here, some days there in the summer. And I would get paid money, like $20 for like 5 hours, dude.
But you don't have any money, man.
The fuck off, dude.
You need a backlogging charger.
Yeah, dude. Fuck. Anyways, but that's what taught me, like, money doesn't just come around. You have to earn your money, right? Yeah. And it taught me that, sometimes, as teenagers or kids, we ask, for things without really knowing kind of what's going on. And I was like, damn, now that I look back at it, I'm like, that's crazy. My dad, or my mom or whoever, right, they wish they could have gave me more, but they gave me what they could. Yeah. Yeah. And I saw how hard they earned their money back then.
Now you see it.
Now I see it, yeah.
Back then you're like, why me? Like,
yeah, like, I don't want to go lift this damn sheetrock.
Are you the oldest?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I swear everybody that might be listening to us, if you're the oldest, you're probably like, you know what, me too, or you already know that, because like you said, it's good to learn it early on, because you can do two things. If your parents are hard on you, if like you said, like they were making you work, and like I would have loved to stay home and play Xbox like some of my school friends, and I would have loved to go on vacations, and you could have looked and like, oh, well, I hate my parents for making me suffer because I never had this. But the beauty of it is most of the times that like the people that do get that kind of treatment, they end up doing something with their life, and then or things become more easy, like you said, like solution seekers. Yeah. Because it's like, it's so sad seeing people. I know maybe both of you know people in your life or friends that you see them and they're happy. Edgar says this all the time. That's why I'm going to quote it. They're happy 9-to-5ers, and that's all they seek in life.
Yeah.
They don't seek to move out of their comfort zone and try to be like, because I don't have anybody rich in my family,
Right.
and on both sides, but it only takes one person to change the
whole-
legacy of everybody else in them. Yeah, like imagine, you might have to work harder, you might have to struggle more, you might not even make it. You know, that's reality. You might not even make it, but what if you do? You know,
Right.
like time's so, like the time that we waste is so gone behind us that everything in front of us is like, you don't know if we're gonna make it, how long, but if we do make it and we're like, you make it, then everybody after you is gonna be able to, I don't know, maybe live off of everything you leave or something like that.
Yeah, and that's important that you mentioned that because just to kind of piggyback off you, you know, there's a lot of people who are happy with their 9 to 5s, and that's fine, right? That's who they are. That's who they want to be. Cool.
Yeah.
But if you're a person, you know, as I imagine you are, and I am myself, I consider myself an entrepreneurial person, and who's always looking for more than just what I have now.
Yeah.
It's not ambition. It's more so, you know, I've seen where I've come from. I know my roots. And when you have the ability to provide something better for your family, whether it's, you know, your family now or your future family that's coming along or that can come along, you know, you have this fire in you to say, you know what? No, I don't want to stay complacent.
Yeah.
You know, and I have a lot of friends who are like happy with their 9 to 5s, and I also have a lot of friends and met a lot of great people who are entrepreneurial, have their own business. You know, but it's tricky because you have to manage both sides and have a balance. You know, like I don't, you know, myself personally, you know, I have my friends who are 9 to 5s, and I talk to them, you know, how they're doing, whatnot, but who I have high level conversations with are people who are doing something in their life. Because I can learn off them, right? And not to use them, but, you know, when you are an entrepreneurial person, you want to be around people who are smarter than you.
You also understand them more.
Yeah.
I don't know if your friends, I might not be able to tell you how your friends are, but I understand like your friends that do your 9 to 5 and that's it. They don't really understand. For
The
them,
hard
like,
work,
hey bro, let's go out. I can't. Well, why not? You're always working, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
like,
why are you always working? Yeah, a friend, you know, once told me, and I've said this before on the podcast, where, you know, when I was 16, 17, I was in this business, right? And I was so far ahead of them as far as in that time, just because what they looked forward was the weekend. What I looked forward was the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So my daily was, what can I do now so that in the next 5 years, I can enjoy and see the fruits of that labor, while they were like, can't wait till the weekend, right? Yeah. And I wouldn't see them much and whatnot, but one time my friend, he's like, because I was trying to instill in them, like, hey, like, have a plan after high school, like, make sure you guys are, you know, do this and that.
Sometimes you're just talking to a wall, man, but eventually they listen too.
Yeah, and he's like, Brandon, he's like, you're on like cloud 9 with what you want to do in life, while we're on like cloud 6. And, you know, I don't think he was saying it in a rude way or trying to offend me, but it clicked. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Like, I can't force you to be on the same cloud as I am, nor should I try to do that, because that's not my responsibility. Once your time comes to be on that cloud, it will come, right? And I'll be there to help you out the best way I can. Yeah. And I didn't understand that until then, which is crazy.
Yeah, I guess I'll piggyback. I'll go back to where we left off, but to talk about that, Edgar is a really close friend. And Edgar wasn't a close friend. I didn't even know Edgar before I started working where I worked. But after the fact that we became co-workers, we became like really close friends. Like Edgar's the type of person that comes over to eat at my house once a week. Yeah. Besides the business part that we do together, I guess, and the events and stuff, we're friends. And he's taught me a lot. And that whole, like, he is probably one of the person I know the most that he takes his grind so seriously. Yeah. And I know you've probably seen it. And I mean, everything he advocates, he actually does. Yeah. That man like is like a machine. And I thought it was more of a front because people burn out, but he doesn't burn out. He just keeps going. And over time it's coming to rub on me because I was the same way too. Like I do my stuff, but then I also am like, dude, today is not the day. I'm taking it for me, and like everything can pause. But Edgar's not that type of person. Edgar's the type of person like, I'm gonna run through even if I have so many other things I have to do or I want to do. Like I'm gonna get this done first. And it's kind of rubbed off of me that like work is work, and then eventually one day we'll both be sipping margaritas on the beach.
Yeah.
And his birthday was last week.
Happy birthday.
And I might have that wrong. It might have been the week after. Anyway, on Friday he had like a birthday dinner, and I also shoot real estate on my Fridays because I only work Monday through Thursday.
Oh yeah.
And I was supposed to be there at 8:00. And it's 7:30 and I'm still in Rexburg filming, and I'm like, hey bro, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna make it. And he has told me beforehand, and so as a friend I felt bad, but as like you said, like more like I guess you can call myself an entrepreneur. I don't know, I don't think of me as that. I think of me as just like a hobbyist, but I knew he was going to understand because of the fact of the mentality that he has is like, no bro, go grind. Like this, we can go and do dinner any other time. And I texted him, I called him like, bro, I'm not gonna make it. He's like, bro, you're good. Like, and I know any other friend, they're like, bro, what the heck? Like, someone that doesn't understand the whole, I guess you said the grind mentality. Is not gonna understand it the same way, or might take it personal.
Right. Yeah, and that's why like with people who are busy, like I've had a guest in here, and it was a while to kind of get him in here because he was so busy with what he was doing. And he's like, hey, bro, I'm sorry, that I was so busy and hard to get in contact with. I was like, bro, I'm not upset at all. Like, to me, seeing someone that's busy means that they're pursuing their dreams and goals. And to me, that's awesome. Like, I'm not going to, I'm not going to be upset at that or down someone on that. Yeah. In fact, I'm going to be like, shit, dude. And like, I want to be as busy as you. Yeah. And I have been getting as busy as some of these, people that I know. And it's like, you know what? You start to understand that, sometimes as a friend, you want to see your friend succeed, and that's what you care more about.
Once you understand that, I think seeing your friend succeed is one of the best feelings ever.
Oh, 100%.
It's just like, hell yeah, bro. Like, that's
we're
trying to, like, we're all trying to make it, like the same thing, sipping margaritas, like all together eventually one day.
Hell yeah.
But I totally lost where we left off.
We left off at you filming Hondas.
Okay, so I get my camera finally, and then the Hondas, man, like I'm still. If you have a Honda and you want to get a shot, I love shooting cars, and that kind of just started treading my obsession with the whole videography because at the time, video on Instagram wasn't a huge thing, and so I thought it was like such a cool thing. And then I remember I went to Mexico eventually, and I filmed that, and I thought it was like, oh, I'm the best in my world. And even right now, videographers are not such an abundant thing in the town we live in. Right. But they're popping up more because now everything you on your Instagram, everything is about reels, and everything is about video, and that whole working in the accounting, I guess, to tie everything back, the accounting was because I didn't know what to do after high school, and it's okay. Yeah. But I also I learned so much from the accounting journey that I had that today it helps me financially, and it helps me with my decisions, and it helps me with like taxes are scary. Yeah. But once you understand it, man, like they're like, oh, loophole here, like you know what I mean? Obviously I can't take advantage of it because I'm not to the tier level of money that people are making to be, and I should take advantage of them. But it's something so good to know that you can understand finances in a way that people seek help for, if that makes sense. So after that, I also have a PhD in concrete.
Oh, goddamn.
No, in concrete. I worked concrete all through high school, and then I quit the accounting firm because of concrete. There was so much more money in it, which I look back now and I wish I probably shouldn't have done, because at least quit my the accounting firm that I worked, the business management firm. That's what they called it. Yeah.
Hey, bro. Sorry to interrupt. I have to pee so fucking bad.
Oh, dude, you're good.
Dude, I drank a gallon of water today, and it's been kicking my ass.
That's what you're all kicking around.
I'm like, shit.
My PhD, dude. Yeah, that's great. If you ever need concrete work.
PhD in concrete and how you shouldn't have done it.
Dude, that's smart though.
Oh, your aunt.
You can say you have a PhD in painting, even though who's gonna say no?
True. I do have a PhD in painting. I've been in it for almost 12 years. No, 11
Dude, that's
years.
perfect, dude. That's more than
Hell
PhD.
yeah. All right, and we're back. Cool, bro. PhD in concrete.
Got a PhD in concrete.
Oh, I feel so much better.
And then out of nowhere, I got a message for where I work. I work at a knife company. It's called Tops Knives.
Yep.
It's one of the bigger, if not the biggest, fixed blade knife company in the United States. I guess you say the world because we're in the U.S. And we're just in Yukon. So if you guys know knife. But I got a message from the owner. His name's Leo. So shout out to Leo. I think you'd be a great person to have you on podcast as well.
Yeah, I'd love to, man. I'd love to have him
He has
on.
a crazy story. But Leo messaged me because he's cousins with my godfather who owned the concrete company.
Oh, okay.
And so he's like, hey, man, do you want to come and work? Well, you're going to have fun. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like, it's a videography thing. And like, he's like, oh, you can join our media team. At the time, I still had that mentality. I'm like, dude, there's no way that could be a job.
Right.
Like, at the point, it was just hobby. And I'm doing some events so I could actually afford maybe like a different kit lens, and some SD cards. And I wasn't really taking it serious because I really didn't have anybody to teach me, or I really didn't have any ambition because I wasn't really actually making money. Mm-hmm. And then I guess like just growing up Hispanic, man, like who would imagine having a job from going and maybe just comparing concrete to going to work out behind a desk, doing video or whatever they're going to make me do. So I'm like, no, that's not. I'm like, I'll let you know that. So I never actually took the job.
Yeah.
And then I quit concrete because we were working out of state, and that's when I was already dating my now wife. And that separation, man, that kills relationships. And I'm like, you know what? I know you're not asking me to move back, but I'm gonna come back because that's gonna be the best thing for us.
Yeah.
And so I moved back, and her dad offered me a job. Thank you, as a painter. So I don't have my PhD, but maybe my associate's in painting. But so they do cabinets. I was speaking to your wife before. And, like,
What's his name?
His name is Carlos.
I know who he is.
Yeah.
I worked for him for a year and a half.
Yeah, oh, really?
Yeah. Is your wife cousins with his? What is his? His like what would be like his? If you're an uncle, what's your? When you're an uncle, what do you call the person that like the daughter of your brother? Niece?
Yeah, he doesn't have a brother. Well, he has a stepbrother, but he doesn't have any kids.
Right.
It's his sister, maybe? Her dad was painting too.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, so
right, he does. My dad did a couple jobs for him, actually.
So yeah, they're all in the painting business.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Small town, huh?
It was great working for him for I think like a year.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, he also plays the coro at church, so a lot of people know him.
Yeah, great guy.
And so I just did that. I kind of felt like a cruise, man, because I didn't do anything videography wise during that time.
Yeah.
I was just, man, when you're in love, that thing.
When you're in love, you don't see nothing but love.
Yeah. And then you get married. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Then you get married.
Your wife's gonna plug everything.
I guess I want to ask you. So, if you had this like feeling that you like to do this videography, when you had the opportunity, why didn't you jump into it?
I think about it now, and I'm like, why didn't I? I don't know, dude. I was scared. I was intimidated and I was scared. They say fear is what paralyzes a man. Yep.
And I can see that, through different, a lot of different examples. And your story right now, that's kind of what I'm getting at is kind of what's telling me that sometimes, opportunities present themselves in what you like to do. Yep. But because they have one thing you maybe don't like, you're scared to jump into that, right? Because you're just like, do I have the capability? Am I capable enough to do this, right? Mm-hmm. Which ultimately comes down to what I think is more so of like self-confidence, and self-belief. And if you don't have that, then it's going to be very hard for someone, right? Whether it's me, you, whoever, to jump at an opportunity that can grow them exponentially.
Yeah, and funny thing is because, like I mentioned before, Edgar worked with me. I got the job offer before Edgar got hired on. So I think about it, and I'm like, you know how much I could have grown
From that time on?
From the time on, yeah. And the whole like I believe like a year and a half passed by.
Oh, wow.
They hired Edgar somewhere between, and you hear his story that he didn't get the raise that he wanted, and then he took the job. He had the mindset, and he did the right thing for him at the time. He saw opportunity and he jumped on it. I did the opposite, which is like, that's what I want to say is like that the fear, and you shouldn't let it. You should like, and it contradicts everything I've done. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything I've done, it just contradicted the whole thing. And I don't know why I didn't take it.
Yeah, but that's a lesson, man. I think that's a valuable lesson. And I think, some people learn it through different ways, right? And I haven't talked to Edgar as much. Like, I know him and we know each other, but I haven't really kind of sat down with him and talked to him about certain things, that I think would be interesting to talk to him about. Yeah. But I think that, sometimes you learn these lessons because everyone's different. You learn them differently, right? Yeah. And gosh, I mean, I can, I can say that I've lost opportunities because I've been so, attached to something that I believed was what was going to get me to where I wanted to go, right? When I think it gave me something that now I'm using, but I think I attached to it for too long. It's like when you're in a relationship, right, with someone who clearly is not a good person, but you're like, what am I gonna do alone? It's that fear of leaving, and
it sucks a little bit. It sucks a little bit, but then everything gets better, right? Exactly. It should, at least, unless you just love toxicity or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if you're one of those, then shit, dude, good luck. But
yeah, that is true. It was such a. Now I don't kick myself because then everything worked out. Yeah. I'm like a huge believer of like everything happens for a reason.
Right.
And I don't know why I didn't take it. Like we said, like it was just fear. I was intimidated. And then just that year, I believe a year and a half passed by. And then I got another message. And then it was like, hey, we'd love you to join our team. I'm like, and then I'm like, I work for my suegro. Like, what am I going to tell the guy? I'm like, hey, dude, I'm dipping, man. Like, I know you need me, but I'm gone. Yeah. And I didn't know, dude. It ate me for like a couple of days, and I told I told Jerry, I'm like, I don't know what to do, and she's the one that kind of like me animó, and she's like, do it. My dad's gonna support you 100%. And I'm like, I don't know. And then one day I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I had an interview on Friday. I talked to my suegro on Thursday, and I'm like, this is what's going on. He's like, take it. Yeah. And I was kind of like, what? He's like, I will be able to find someone else to take, like, not in a messed up way, but to replace me. Like, right. But I would rather you leave and go do what you want to do than be here and just work to work, Yeah. And I was like, that was not what I was expecting here, because that was like the ideal situation. And I went for an interview, and dude, like, it was great, man. I haven't looked back since then. And I really owe a lot of my success to obviously Leo for messaging me and taking a risk on me, because realistically I didn't really know anything. Yeah. And we joke about it now, but back then I'm like, I don't know what I'm getting into, but I was kind of like, screw it, man. Like, I'm just gonna do it, and if it doesn't work out, then I'm gonna go back to painting. Like, I'll get my PhD in that eventually. But
I mean, you don't want to do, trust me. Shit.
Yeah, but that was kind of what happened, man. And Jesus, my manager, he is that type of person that if he knows something, he's gonna teach you. Yeah. And he hasn't held back and teach me anything. And then Edgar, he was growing. He already was so much ahead than I was. And so over time went by, he just started, like, he basically took me under his wing too. And even after he left, like, we do the events together. I do the video, and he does the photography. And we actually, when he had his, we did the podcast, Mezcal Moguls. Yep. I was co-hosting with him for the longest time. And that was such a blast, man, having guests on and meeting people. And then at work also, we have a podcast, and then we have like these in the knife world celebrities.
Which, by the way, it's a great podcast. It's very well produced. I don't know who does the producing on there, but it's very well produced.
It's a mainly all audio is Jesus. He's a wizard, man. Like, we're gonna be on Rods, I believe, August somewhere. Yeah, but this dude, next month. If you could get a conversation with him, man, he'll open your mind up. Yep,
I'd love to.
He's so good for photography, videography. He knows a lot, but graphics, man. Like that guy is so smart. And anything you can ask him, like audio, he's a genius as well. Like, and so the podcast was also a great learning curve because it's not easy, because you're recording live, and like obviously you're gonna go and post, but you only get one take because it's those organic conversations that are like you can't retake it. Like if you forget to record it, like it's not gonna be the same the second time. So
and that's I think that's it goes with everything. I think it comes with style too. I think that if whether you're a photographer, videographer, a person who has a podcast, you go, when you start something like that, you go into the mindset of, okay, how do I want my stuff to look like, be like, sound like, things like that, right? And I think those little, bumps of figuring out how you want your stuff to come out is what teaches you the most, because it's trial and error every single time, trial and error, and sometimes it's like, oh shit, man, I don't like this, but you know what? At least you did it, and that's valuable. What do you think has been like the learning lesson, like a learning or two learning lessons that you've learned over the past couple of years that you've been, doing your dream job essentially?
One is to be humble, because there's always going to be someone better than you out there, and you'll never stop learning. If I think I'm okay now, I'm going to look back and be like, dude, what was I thinking? And two, and maybe this is more of a Hispanic thing, but be open to help others. And I know I messed up. I'm sorry, man. But
no, it's all good, bro.
But like deep down, it's just about, like, how Hispanics are, especially the older generation, and you see it more in, like, I saw it in construction, that they don't want to teach you anything. They want you to suffer and figure it out, which is the mess up part. And I learned a lot of that from Jesus. He's, like I said, I wasn't expecting like nothing that's happened, like all the teaching that he's taught me. He's done it with just out of his own good heart,
with open hands.
And so I think that's the main one. If you can help someone out, even if it's just a quick question, do it. Don't think that if you hog all the information, you're gonna be the best, because nobody else knows that. All the information is out there, man. Everything. You can Google it. Maybe it'll take you maybe an hour to figure it out, or two, or a couple of hours, but you're gonna figure it out. Once you figure it out, you might even learn it even better, because you got to struggle for it. But why not facilitate someone else's life? My wife tells me all the time, he's like, because she's learning how to edit too.
Cool.
And she's like, I'm like, why don't you just Google it? Because I'm busy here. She's like, she has to bring me to reality sometimes. She's like, it takes me so much time to figure it out. Why can't you just tell me you already went through all that? Why would you make me go through that? I'm like, oh, you're right. That's what I'm not trying to do. And so she brings me back down. And so I think those are some of the most important advice that you can
give. That's awesome.
Definitely. And then this last chapter of our life, you saw us this last weekend. We're doing our events, and it turned into a hobby, and now we're kind of forced to do them, because now we're buying new cameras because it gets expensive, man.
How much, what's like when it comes to having a good video out there, what do you think is like something that, whether you're a starter, amateur, or not amateur, semi-pro or professional videographer or content creator, what do you think is some of those details that are important to include in a video?
Include I guess a few things. Simple ones. Make sure your lens is clean. Because that's one thing that a lot of people just don't, or even on their phones when they're recording, because now we have like $1,000 computers cameras in our pockets. So a lot of times we'll shoot off our phones at work, because it's just like, it's so portable, and the resolution is amazing too. So make sure that your lens is clean, because you do get greasy fingers on there, and then you might not see it on the little screen, but once you see it on your computer, you're kicking yourself. Second is try to figure out your audio, because audio is one thing that turns a lot of people down, especially if it's podcast or if it's just a video. If that's terrible video, your attention span's not going to be as big. And then a little one that's a little more complex that I'm still working on as is composition. So how to set up a shot. How to set up a shot is very important, because we're trained, our brains are trained a certain way that if you set up a shot a certain way, it's more pleasing to the eye. You don't know why, but it's just more pleasing to the eye.
Right.
So that's one, like I said, I'm still working in. It's a lot more easier in pictures because the subject's like still.
Right.
But if I'm doing video, there's a little more factors into it.
Yeah.
But that's one of the more important things. And I think that's the I guess 3, 2, 1 simple. The second audio is a little more complicated.
Yeah.
Because if you don't really understand how audio works, it can be a little tricky. But once you kind of have like a basic understanding, and I learned that more in the podcast because even today, at work we still have some mess ups with the audio, and we know what we're doing, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
Which is like, it happens, man. Like sometimes some cable is all worn down and it's starting making a weird noise, and you're not getting audio in one ear or whatever it is.
Right. Or sometimes you forget to record completely, and you're just talking for an hour, and you're like, oh,
really?
shit, I didn't record.
And it happens too.
Why are you looking at me?
I'm not looking at you. I'm just looking at the camera.
Dude, you guys' relationship is like, I've seen quite a few podcasts. The one I really like was Israel's. I like that one.
Oh, yeah, Israel, dude.
But your guys' like
Love
chemistry
that guy.
kind of reminds me of like my wife, because you're sitting there.
Yeah.
You could be you're pregnant. You could be doing other things. And I'm so grateful. Like, and I think a lot of success is finding the right partner.
Oh, 100%.
There's
no doubt.
I wouldn't be able to do anything I can do now if it's not the support of my wife. Because
and it's a lot on them, bro. I realize that day in, day out. I'm like, God damn, I felt bad
Shit
because
about time, dude.
I felt bad because I'm like, shit, like, I can't imagine what she's going through. Right? I can only try to imagine, but I really can't, right?
Yeah.
But then, that's where the pressure of like making something work comes in for us, right? Who's like spending money on this, doing this, doing that. You're like, all right, like
she has to be seeing the vision if she's supporting you, because money is, when you're trying to do something that might work, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to let go.
It's a risk.
My wife works she's a mortgage processor at a bank, and so I make fun of her sometimes because she's like my accountant, because she doesn't loosen up on any of the money, but she is so supportive. And I was telling her, I'm like, you guys like remind me a lot like how we are, because you saw her at the event. She has to stand there and help us out all day.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously she doesn't get paid and I don't get paid because it goes back to the business.
Right.
But she's there. The 10 hours, whatever hours we're there, she's there helping me pack all of my stuff. She's there making the checklist. She's helping editor sometimes with the pictures and poses. And then obviously in the funny thing that we did with the editing, because some of these videos take 60, 80 hours to edit.
God damn.
There's so much editing
Footage to put together.
Dude, sometimes like 300, 400 gigs between all the cameras to go through.
Could not do that.
But we're like, I'm sitting there, and it's not fair for her, for our relationship, to me be always stuck to the computer.
Right.
If I was single and there's nothing holding me back, but I'm married, and so my wife also deserves attention. And something we did actually was, because of the editing part, is I told her, I'm like, trying to find a hobby. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And this was over, I believe, almost a year ago. And I'm like, because I don't want you sitting there bored watching me edit. Find a hobby. And so she's like, well, I've always wanted to do nails. I'm like, done. Let's invest into something. You just go and have fun, do your nails, learn how to do them. Don't, like, it's not about making money, but sorry.
It's all good.
If you make any money, let's just put in it. Like, let's just save it. Don't touch it. Like, we're not gonna use it to reinvest if you do like into this. Like, I just want to see what this goes into.
Yeah, where it goes.
And she started getting clientele over these, like, all this months passed, and she's sometimes she's more busy than I am. I'm like, what are you doing?
You're like, all right, I didn't tell you to take it that far.
Yeah,
chill out.
It's so beautiful.
Did it tell you to get a second job?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think it was gonna turn into that, but sometimes 2-3 days of the week, dude, she's out. We call her a mobile nail service.
That's awesome.
She's always like, oh, I'm doing so and so, and I'm going there and I'm going there. I'm like, it's maybe financially it's not a great business structure, which could be perfected, but it's not the purpose of the business. It's the purpose of, let's all be busy, because like 5-year plan, in 5 years, I don't want to be maybe I want to have my own media team, you know, maybe I want to have 2-3 editors and then a team that goes and does an event, or we're doing commercial instead of events, because that's realistically, that's where the money's at.
Yeah.
But you know, maybe right now it sucks a little bit for both of us, but we both have to give in. And that's the cool part of it. Like what I see here is that you're here, but she's also here, you know?
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it, man. Like when you find someone that helps you, that is such a beauty. And I was telling my, like, it does remind me of us. And I bet you guys have a lot of the same, maybe the problems that we have, that like you don't think about it, but like I'm not the only one, you know?
Of course, no. And I think, you know, when you're in a relationship, it's crazy because I don't know, you know, I don't know. It's crazy, but the fact that you have to, you know, as a partner, you know, when you're in a serious committed relationship, you have to understand that there's a balance to things.
Yep.
And, you know, for me, I'd love to be in this room, you know, 24/7. If it was up to me, I'd be in here shooting whatever I could shoot, creating different shows, doing all these ideas I have, right? But that's not fair, you know? So when it comes to, you know, doing something, like you said, when I'm editing, you know, she's doing something, which I have no idea what she's doing, right? But I'm assuming it's something around here, like maybe she's doing laundry or something like that, right? So, but then when we're filming, she's in here, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I've planned my week out, and I plan my weeks out to where I can, you know, put in. I do 40 hours at work. That's non-negotiable, right? I'm there 48 hours out of the week. You know, I make time to have my physical health in good shape so that my mental health is in good shape, because I'm one of those people, dude, if I don't work out, I'm a fucking mess. All right, babe?
Yep.
Like bad. Like it goes down a bad road. So I have to do that. I have my personal goals, right? And then I have the podcast, and I'm like, okay, I can do all that if I was single and be cool with it. But I have a relationship too.
Yeah.
So I have to find the time and space to give my relationship the attention they deserve, and I do that. As you know, it might not be as much as we want to right now, but then the next 5 years, dude.
Let's go and sip margaritas at the beach.
Exactly, right?
That's what I'm
I'll
thinking.
see you there.
Yeah, and it's important. You know, one of the things that I've learned this year is that how important it is to, as a relationship, to have a vision for what you both want, right? Mm-hmm. And I tell this out to anyone. I'm like, whether it's the same thing that you both are doing, right? Whether it's like us, right? Who your wife is supporting you in the media company and doing that. Well, for me, it's a podcast. Whether it's that or whether it's something completely different that both of you want to do. You know, for example, if your wife was to be like, you know, I'm using your wife here for an example, but if your wife was to be like, I don't want to do the media company, I want to do nails strictly, and you want to do the media company, then I think it's only fair that as a partner, you're like, I can support you in that as well, you know,
100%.
because you support me in what I love to do, and I will support you in what you love to do.
Yep.
Right?
That's exactly it.
So you can't, I don't think it's fair for one partner to be like, I can do what I love, but you can't. Does that make sense?
It's so crazy how you think. And how old are you?
21.
That's so crazy, man. That is crazy.
I think that's bullshit, right?
Oh, man.
But there's people like that.
Yeah.
And then there's people who are like, and there's an opposite way too, where there's like, let's say she's doing something she loves, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, and I don't have anything I want to do because I'm just not that type of person maybe in that moment or in this moment. And I'm like, I'm, you know, dragging her down. Why are you doing this? You know, giving her this fight after fight after fight, battle after battle after battle. And that's when you realize, you know, she would have to realize, you know what? That's not a person to be with.
Yeah.
They're never going to, it's like crabs in a bucket. You know that analogy?
But at the moment, dude, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe like Jackie, you too, like at the moment, and you might even see it in your friends, like they're so into that person that's not right for them. That there's nothing you can do to tell them like, hey man, like that's not working out, like, or you have someone that you think has so much potential and their partner's dragging them down.
And we've seen it multiple times, bro. And it to me, it's this analogy of crabs in a bucket. Do you know what that is?
I haven't heard of that.
So, you know, when you pick up crabs, right, one of them will try to escape the bucket, but there will always be a crab pulling it down. So they will never let that one crab get out of the bucket.
That's a good one.
Crabs in a bucket, dude.
What's in Spanish?
Shit, who knows, dude? But yeah, there's
He's an
relationships like
asado
that.
kid.
Oh, bro.
That's why I did the Spanish podcast to perfect my Spanish.
That's good, though. That's good.
Yeah.
No, that's true. And then I think, like, once you figure that out, or that's what I'm saying, like, I like, that's so crazy to me that you have such, like, I don't know if it's advanced, because, I mean, I didn't learn that until a little after on, until, like, I actually was in a relationship, and I started learning a lot more about, like, how things should be done, I guess, in my world. Be like, okay, there's 50-50, I guess you can say. Like, she deserves as much time as I do. And I think it's the first year of your marriage, which is probably the hardest. And everybody tells you this. Oh, the first year is going to be the hardest, blah, 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 blah. Like, okay, cool. But we've been dating this so many times, and it's been perfect.
Yeah.
But then when you realize, oh, she doesn't like me to take my socks off and throw them on the floor. Why? I don't know, because I can pick them up tomorrow.
Right.
She wants them in the hamper tonight. Or she doesn't like me leaving the cabinet door open. Why? Like, but it's not more of a why. At some point, it doesn't turn into why. It turns into more like, she respects the things I do.
Right.
And I'm going to respect the things that she likes, no matter what the circumstances.
Exactly.
Because for me, it's really dumb.
Yeah,
But
they're
maybe-
non-negotiables, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yep.
And
That's such an important dude.
Yeah.
God damn.
if you're trying to get married, and right there, we'll do another separate podcast
Yeah.
with marriage advice.
Marriage.
How long have you
Marriage
guys been married?
A year.
Really?
A little over a year.
Almost 2 years. We'll be 2 years in April.
Dang, that's crazy. You guys got married early, huh?
Early, dude. I was 20.
Dang, I'm old, man. I'm barely gonna hit a year, and I'm old.
How old
Just
are you?
turned 25.
25. No, you're young.
This
You got a
guy.
lot. You got a lot.
Dude, I feel old.
I'm
Last year.
22, so.
Oh, I felt I was 17, man. Like, I was my prime year, apparently, because I always feel like I was 17. And marriage is such a beautiful thing
Yeah.
when you find the right partner.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, dude, that, yeah, I truly believe, just like, goddamn, dude, I hope people who may not understand this now, I hope one day they do, because it's such a beautiful way to live that anything you'd want to do in life that will provide some type of great result back, whether it's fitness, whether it's marriage, whether it's doing something you love to do, like media or podcast or whatever.
Whatever it is, yeah.
Every day will be hard.
Yep.
Every fucking day will be hard because there will be new obstacles every day. And in marriage, it's that way. Every day there's something that you learn, something that you think about, something that you're like, oh shit, you know what? That makes sense.
Yep.
Now I understand why maybe she likes the house clean, why she, like the socks theory, right? Or
You may not know the answer at the moment, but dude, we
Yeah.
should have done the podcast about marriage.
God
That
damn it.
would have been great, dude. I love
Second part.
Dude, I love just like understanding in marriage more now, because I mean, I don't have a perfect marriage, but I try to be better every day.
Yeah.
And one thing that I believe my wife's godfather, he used to be a priest, told me, he's like, you have to find every day you wake up, find a new reason why to love your spouse.
yeah, it's such a huge. It's one of those things. It's a skill, right? With her, I think I forget what it was. I'm not sure. The point is that for a certain amount of days, you remember how many days it was? I'm not sure if it was. I think it was from it was for her birthday, from the start of the month till her birthday. No, it was a
What
little
are you
longer.
talking about?
Remember when I wrote you something I loved about you every single day that was different?
I think you started like a month before, didn't you?
I think so, something like that, dude. And every day I had to come up with a different thing that I loved about her that was not the same word, nothing. And that's a skill. It's an exercise.
Yeah, and it's like you said, you're on your diet. It's hard, but once you get the rhythm,
It's cake.
you know, but it's hard
Dude,
because you've never done it, or if you've done it, it sucked, or like, you know.
it kicks your ass.
And so like the marriage thing, it's hit me more now because I thought I had a great, and maybe you guys can hop on this thought. I thought I had a great boyfriend, and what's it called? When we were,
Boyfriend, girlfriend.
yeah, and I thought everything was fine, but we'd have arguments, and we're like, no, when we get married, everything's gonna solve it. Like everything's gonna go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the worst thing. That if anybody's listening to this, if you think that you and your girlfriend or you and your fiance have issues and you think they're going to resolve themselves when you get married, that is the biggest lie.
Or
They
the
get
other one,
worse.
or the
They
other
get
one where
worse.
they use the baby for that. Like, when you have a baby, everything's no, it's not,
No,
dude.
I don't have a baby, but I imagine it's the same boat too.
Yeah.
If you didn't fix them, if you're not married, if you got married and then you're having a baby, you're still having issues, and you think the baby's gonna fix it, then there's something wrong because marriage didn't fix it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll just to end off the marriage conversation with this, I'll just say this, and you can kind of share what you think about this. I think that within a marriage, the only way you solve a problem within that marriage, right, is by figuring out what the hell is going on with you first.
Yep.
Right, and seeing what you can do to have that problem solved. Right, whether it's being compassionate, being empathetic, looking in sondering. Right, if you know with that word, it basically means everyone lives a different life. Right,
Yeah.
and so. What's her point of view? Did you already look at her point of view?
Yeah,
Or are you
exactly.
just going based off what you think? So I think that's like the key to solving problems in marriage is like, okay, what can I do? What did I do wrong? And how can I fix this? How can I make this up? How can I do better next time?
The only thing I can say about that is my experience is no marriage is perfect, so there's always going to be arguments. But the thing that I did that changed my life was when we have an argument and obviously both have something to say, is you completely cut it, give it 30 minutes, and then we'll talk.
Yep.
Because it will work. You're so heated at the moment. You're like, you do, and this. Even if it's not a big deal, give it 30 minutes, like you said. You
Yep.
need to understand what's wrong with you. And so in those 30 minutes, you're like, you know what? This doesn't matter. This is not a big deal at all. Like, why are we fighting? And then when 30 minutes come back, then you come back together and you talk civilly, it works.
Yeah.
And that's like
100%.
the beauty about, like, I don't know, the human, I guess,
Yeah, you learn so fucking much. Goddamn.
Yeah. We're going to open a marriage podcast. We're going to have to figure out a name for it.
John and Brandon's marriage advice.
Oh God.
Show.
And then we'll have the night shift, and the wives can have their own.
Yeah.
Talk about like él deja sus calzones.
The juicy stuff.
No, dude, they'll be giving all of our secrets out, bro.
Oh, dude. Yep.
We can't be doing that to ourselves.
It's gonna be on Patreon, so you have to pay to listen to it.
Right, you have to pay a $20 fee plus a $10 fee for the episode to be
There
full.
you go. Oh, man,
Yeah,
this is
that was
great. But
So as far as equipment, bro,
this is my jam, bro.
What if you want to be someone who starts with a media company, start some type of content creating business or hobby? What equipment do you recommend to start off with?
To start off with, anything specific?
No,
Because
let's say go camera, since you're into camera.
Or I mean, like what specific field? Because, like for example, my real estate, what I use for real estate is way different than I use for events.
Okay.
And what I use at work is way different than the other two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just give me an example, and I'll.
Let's say to become a YouTuber.
Okay.
Since YouTube is big.
That's probably the easiest one, and the one that you can hop in the easiest. It really sucks because you're in, like, if you're new and you have so much like drive to be like, I'm gonna be a YouTuber, this and that, and someone tells you use your phone, because most of us have the new iPhone, if not one or two generations before. Someone tells you use the iPhone, then you're automatically like, no, he doesn't want to help me out, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You almost like get your wings clipped. But I would recommend a phone. Like,
Yep.
you have your phone, you can literally go on Amazon and buy a cheap knockoff of a Gorilla Pod, which is just something to hold it on there, and then you can find really cheap mics, because you got to invest into your audio. You can invest in a really cheap lapel too. They have like some under $100 Bluetooth lapels that you can connect straight to your phone, and that works perfectly fine. So I mean, now you have a vlogging camera, and then you can do sit down videos. You know what I mean? So that works, and you have the audio now. And then obviously, if you wanted light, you can buy a cheap, like, they have these little portable lights that you can even put, and they sell this little cage that you can put on your phone. So I mean, realistically, under like $200, you could get everything you need for an actual decent vlog.
Oh shit.
You do need a computer,
Yeah.
you know, and that's when it gets a little more trickier. But there's CapCut now. CapCut is
Right.
not free, but you can download it on, I think they have a free version.
I think they do. I think you can do a monthly subscription or
But there,
yearly.
if you have an iPhone, there is also iMovie on there, and it's free, so it's easy and cut, and that's like probably the cheapest you can get into with decent quality and decent audio.
Interesting.
It gets more tricky when you're starting to do something else, like events. is the money gobbler. Like you're trying to do it with bare minimum, and it's not going to work out. Because
So for an event, let's say I, Brandon, want to start an event, production, media company. How much money would I have to put down on, let's say, 2 cameras, lens, stands, lighting?
just depends on what price point you're at. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
My goal for the media company for events is I want to stick away for a certain. I want my price point to put me in those more higher production ones.
Mm-hmm.
So next year, thankfully, we've had success for over these past. I think we're going for 3 years with Edgar, doing events, and we started really cheap because our skill level was a little higher, but we have no name for ourselves.
Right.
And then the second year, we were charging a little more, and people were seeing us more often. And then this year, dude, it's been a great year. And next year, we're already getting booked for next year.
Oh, shit.
But my goal for the business is I want to give you a Netflix film.
Yeah.
I want you, let's say you guys are getting married. I want to give you a package that you, as a bride, can hire me to go and film your bridal party, your bridal dinner. Or maybe you don't want that, but you want the groomsmen to go and do your despedida. I don't know what it's called in English. And from there, I can...
Bachelor party.
There you go. And then I can film, I can do interviews with your parents, maybe your siblings, get to know you guys.
Yeah.
I want to do a film about you guys. But that's a lot of production.
Yep.
You need to have another talented videographer or 2 to be able to pull it off. You're talking about the processing power that you have to have the equipment, you have to have the right computer because you're getting so much footage. And then you have to have your right times, your time set to be you're going to get this video in 6 months.
Yeah. So how much money would you need to do that? Let's say within the next year, we're talking 20 grand, 25 grand.
Probably more. I'm expecting to do that maybe next year. I'm already doing it now on a lower budget, but it's not necessarily the equipment. You know what I mean? Let's say you just want to do a quinceañera, and you have some decent knowledge of putting it together, and then are you going to do it by yourself, or are you going to have someone help you?
Right.
That's when it gets tricky. Because if you're doing it by yourself, then you wouldn't, at least 2 cameras, you know what I mean? You still see it's more in the Hispanic culture, one person holding one of those big dinosaurs by yourself.
Right.
And so you get a film of 4 or 5 hours of everything, and there's not much creativity put into it.
Interesting. So you want to put in more of the creativity side on your end.
That's why
it
takes me so long to edit, because we're doing a little bit of interviews in them. We're taking audio much seriously. We mic people up. We bring lights to them. Just, it might not light up the whole place, but it might flare up a little bit where we need the light.
Yep.
We carry 3 cameras on us, 1 as a backup, 2 now, because I only have another videographer. But you can, if you're doing it just yourself, you can literally go off with a kit lens and a kit camera, and then just a cheap monopod. So you could probably be in it for if you buy used, Facebook. Facebook is where it's at.
Yeah.
Maybe $1,000.
Gotcha.
So
let's say, now I'm going to go into my vision, and you tell me kind of where we're at with that, right? So essentially I want to do this podcast with 2 cameras, right?
Okay.
One pointing one person, the one pointing me. So let's say 1 right there, 1 right there. What would I need to do to get there, as far as what equipment would I need to buy?
I'm sure with
if I got another exactly the same as that camera right there, what do you think?
I think I gave you more exact numbers off the podcast.
Yeah.
But I think with I'm already seeing that you have a Rodecaster. Yeah. So that's big. You don't necessarily need the same camera. So let's say you buy a $250 camera off Facebook, so maybe a T6i. No, I don't know if you can get T6i for that. Let's say $300, $400 for a decent Canon, or another Nikon. Is that a mirrorless?
I don't even
it might not be a mirrorless, but let's say you put another tripod. I don't know how much the tripod cost you.
It's like $70, 60.
Let's just say you're gonna do a couple $100, but you got that, and then you need a switcher, unless you're recording externally on both cameras.
Which is more hard to edit, right? If you do that.
It takes more time, yes.
Because you have to sync it up and all that. Yeah, but if you have a switcher
I'm not leaving until have you figured out the syncing yet?
No.
Oh, well, we're not leaving until
I figure out the syncing.
Yeah. But no, it takes a little longer, because you'll put both clips on top, you sync them, and then you have to go in manually. If I'm talking right now, you have to let me play out. And then when you talk, then you have to cut the other clip of the camera because you will have them pointing like this.
Right.
At work, we have a ATEM switcher.
That's what I've seen a lot of podcasters use. Is that?
We built one.
Oh shit.
We bought the ATEM and we built like this portable station with a screen on it and the switchers, and then you connect the HDMI's to that, and then you connect the ATEM straight to the broadcaster. I have a device that you can broadcast live, so you can stream off YouTube and Facebook and I believe Twitch at the same time.
God damn.
And then it has a switcher in it already. So you switch in there, you can put like logos on it, like you can upload logos and everything. But it's a lot of money for like to drop on an investment for a switcher. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the only thing. You're probably your cheapest bet is to do just the 2 cameras and then take a little more time on the editing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's how you would want to start to figure it out. Mm-hmm. Interesting. What's our time?
An hour 20.
Goddamn, dude. We went by quick.
It doesn't feel like that, man.
The only reason I ask is because the camera started blinking. That's when I usually know that's going to die or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Because that camera only films for an hour, 70 minutes.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
So that camera wasn't that bad, though. I mean, it was $800.
Yeah.
But it came with the lens already. So
I am like always on Facebook Marketplace looking for cameras, even though I have nothing to do with me. Like I'm always trying to find deals. I'll message Edgar. I'm like, hey, dude, this just came up. Or like, I'm that type of person that if I know you're looking for something and I find it on Facebook Market, I'll send it to you. Yeah. Even though I don't buy it. Like a lot of my Sony A7S III that I bought, I got a half price, brand new on Facebook Marketplace.
Oh shit.
Up in Driggs. I literally drove at 9:00 at night from here up to Driggs to buy this camera because I was getting it 50% off, and it was a risk because I don't know if it was a scam and it was gonna have like scratches or the sensor was gonna be messed up. But when I got up there, like it was the feel of my life. Like
oh my god, that must have felt amazing,
dude. Yeah. Well, we can talk about this about the off the.
We have to do a second part, bro. Because
dude, cameraman. Like, I think a live would be so much fun, dude. A live would be fun, but.
Oh yeah, live would be awesome. I've never dove into live. We'll talk. You know what? We'll talk about this later. But bro, I guess my last question for you. We went all over the place.
Dude, we did. Like,
but that's awesome. I love it. Last question for you, bro, is what's the advice you give out to people who are trying to start something, and what is your goal for this year? To finish off, you have 6 months to finish off the year. So
awesome. I think I got both. Advice I give someone is if you can find someone that you can like attach yourself to. Like for example, Edgar's taken me under his wing, and like I said, we hang out a lot, and it's more organic if you can find someone that you can click with and you can learn from. Don't be scared to reach out to people so people don't respond. I'm sorry, man.
It's all good, bro.
But don't be scared of YouTube and don't be scared to fail. You know, if you don't think, if you have a video, for example, and you don't think it's the best, post it. Because eventually you're gonna go back and be like, you know what, that was terrible. Yeah. Or you know what, I think I got something going on. You know. But it's like it fuels you. Yep. And don't be scared. Like don't be scared. We're actually like my buddies we're doing and I forgot to mention it before. I started doing a YouTube channel called Y2 Bros with my friends. Oh hell yeah! It was the best time of my life, and we stopped. I don't know why, but we just all grew up, and we're going to bring it back, but in the form of maybe 1 week we do a vlog and 1 week we do a podcast, and we're ready to roll. But dude, we're just so busy, all of us, like because we all kind of in the same mindsets, and so just go for it. And I know I'm not practicing where I'm preaching because we're ready to roll and we don't, but that's something that just go for it. And then personal goal this year was like like I said, I'm a camera nerd, like I like stuff, but I'm gonna buy the Sony FX3, and for me that's been a goal since it came out. But it's pretty pricey, and this year I was like I'm buying it regardless. It's just like I don't need the camera, but I want it so bad because I've been working so hard for it. And then Apple released the new Mac Studios, and we go back to the thing. I saw that, dude. Oh my god! My computer, my iMac is great, but once you get to a certain level, like, and no matter what if you're a beginner, you might have a basic laptop, but you eventually have to upgrade it. And then
Yes.
that one has to upgrade. And it's just like your phone. Like you have to like keep upgrading because maybe a phone that's like an iPhone 6 is not the best right now. So I had to upgrade my computer because that's more important. Time to edit is a lot. It'll make me more money because I'm being faster and I can turn them out quicker. So I invested into that. And then I'm like, you know what? I can still get this camera. So I'm going to pull the trigger next month, hopefully. And that is my goal for the past 2 years. And I'm so happy. Like, it's not necessarily like, it's just a kid that wanted to have a cool camera to do car videos. And
it's a goal, dude. It's a goal that you started with and you've achieved it. And now you've realized that, holy shit, not only did I actually start what I love to do, but I've actually been able to buy things that have helped me do that thing that I love to do, you know?
Yeah.
And that's awesome, bro.
Such a good feeling. If you're the kid that wants to do something in life and just wanted to do it, just go for it, man. Because eventually you're going to get somewhere and you're like, you know what? That was so awesome. I'm just going to keep going. So but I appreciate you guys having me on.
Thank you, thank you, bro, for coming. You want to give out your where they can reach you at?
If you guys are looking for an event this year or next year, our page is Magna Media Co. So you can follow us on there. We also work with Scarface Visuals. And so if you guys either book either or, if you guys need a knife, Tops Knives. So shout out to them. They're my sponsor too.
Oh yeah.
And like just mine is, I don't know. I remember my handle to be honest, but I know it's like Jon Garcia
something
_ 15. But I mean, you'll find it somehow. Yeah. So I appreciate you guys so much. Appreciate it, bro. It's been a blast.
Thank you for coming, bro. I appreciate this conversation. This was awesome. And you're invited for part 2, bro.
Dude, we need to do it again. I need to bring my wife next time. She's so great in like throwing things into it. It's like, oh, that's perfect.
We're gonna have to get a mic for her.
Yeah, dude. I've actually wanted to buy another mic too.
We'll figure it out for next time for sure.
Yeah.
So.
But anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast or this episode, I should say. Go check us out on YouTube, Instagram. Well, go check us out on Instagram first. Brandon E. Lara, the OAP official. Sorry. Brandon E. Lara, Jackie, AAACKE_. We're also on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and any other platform that you may listen podcasts to. We're podcast on as One C Project Podcast. And blessings to all. Go after your dreams, guys. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Peace.
That was a great time, bro.
Dude, we always, when we did the podcast,